Rights work when responsibility travels with them. And maybe that's the connection between the two stories for me this morning. Cooper's pen asks us to recognize that compassion cannot simply erase property rights. It not look good, it not sound good, it hurt somebody's feelings, it sound mess up, but it doesn't erase property rights. And the beach debate asks us to recognize that property rights cannot completely erase public interest. And neither one of these are solved by shouting, it's not legal, me not like it. Because the law tells us what we can do, but it doesn't tell us what we should do. Somewhere in between those two things, though, we have to decide how we get what we want, and are we prepared to change the culture to accommodate it? That's what's on my mind this morning. To the situation in Trelawny, I watched the videos, and you know, it's hard to watch. It's a hard watch. It is very difficult to see people crying, and you know, it's hard. And I hear the dialogue all over the social media platforms. Like I mentioned, people are very conflicted. There are quite a bit of people who say, boy, this can't be it. Some people who are saying the government must do something, and then, you know, we have a responsibility to remind them that these are private lands. So we will have a conversation about how we move forward in helping the people who need to be helped, not just in Cooper's Pen, but also in other areas. But also acknowledging the personal responsibility of not feeling like it is okay to build permanent structures on lands that don't belong to you. You know, the law says what the law says. And the truth is, regardless of how emotional the conversation is and how it makes us feel, you know, you have to follow the law. Lawlessness can't just prevail. You know, whether it hurts our feelings, whether it makes us feel bad, whether it looks bad or not. And then we want to also have a conversation now about how you go about legitimizing your land ownership in the instances where you are building homes on lands that do not belong to you. Clearly, there are, as far as I know, there are different procedures that you have to follow depending on whether the land is owned by the crown, which is to say the government, or whether the land is privately owned. But my understanding is that if you are living on the land and you have been there for 12 years uninterrupted, then you can move forward to file a claim. But uninterrupted is the most important part here. And I think that's the part that is missing from the conversation about what happened, is that it is, in fact, has not been uninterrupted. It has been with much interruption, much warnings, plenty warnings, which were not heeded. And again, I say I understand the emotional connection. And it's not as easy to say you get up and leave just because you've been asked to leave, especially if you feel you have lived there for long and your families have lived there for long. And then in the case of crown lands, you know, you live there for 60 years or your family lives there for 60 years, then you're able to, typically it takes a longer period, but it is usually facilitated, especially if it is large groups of people. And I'm speaking now based on what I understand for governments. Typically, the governments across have tried to help to see how they can regularize them if it is government lands and they have been living there for longer. But when it is private land, you know, what would you do if you were a landowner? You have your land and people come and live on it and you keep telling them that they need to go. You know, I don't think it's as easy as just saying, it look bad or people are upset, you know, whether we want to hear it or not. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on Sleek Radio 93 FM. Yes. I'm with you there, Minister. All right. So I want to start the conversation this morning by allowing you to tell us a little bit about what's happening over at your ministry in relation to the housing program, and then also in relation to land titling and this drive that the government is on to regularize persons who live on lands that they don't have titles for.
All right, let me start at the beginning.
Yes.
Approximately 45% of the lands in Jamaica do not have titles.
Wow.
So calculates to approximately 900,000 parcels of land.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say parcels, we mean formal parcels, but within that,
Mm-hmm.
so you will have informal subdivisions. So you may have a piece of land, 10 acres,
Yes.
and a gentleman will own it. He dies,
Mm-hmm.
and his 3 sons informally subdivided because he would have given the first son piece, and the middle son get piece, and the last son get piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's not formal, it's not reflected on government valuation rules.
Right.
So we would still count it as one, but in reality, it's actually 3 pieces now.
Right.
So the formal parts are 900, approximately 900,000. But when you add the informal, it is said that 35% of that 900,000 is also informally subdivided. And that's from the valuation of it.
Okay.
So we do have a problem. In addition to that, you have persons that have informal land settlements where people go in,
Yes.
capture land, and build out a community. You have communities with 300 families, you have with 200, you have with up to 800. We have approximately 600 land settlements in Jamaica. And to regularize them, it's going to cost approximately 92 billion Jamaican dollars. And that is
Wow.
billion with a B.
Wow.
To
Wow.
put in the
Wow.
road,
Mm-hmm.
to put in the roads, to put in the water, to put in the sewage, to put in the electricity. That is what it is going to cost. So the country has a major bill that is staring at us if we are to regularize them. And you have different settlements that are at varying levels of development. Some,
Yes.
you will also have to move persons who have settled where should have been a road reserve. You have persons that just settled on properties that have no form of planning at all.
Yes.
Them just capture a piece of land and build, and everybody build. And there is no thought of a road that the police has to come in, the ambulance has to come, the garbage truck has to come. And then when you try to recycle and redevelop,
Yes.
you run into other social issues, and sometimes there is a war between 2 brothers over the same piece of land that they capture, a brother and sister, husband and wife, and you get caught up into a myriad of social problems.
Yes.
So we do have a problem. And so the government, led by Andrew Holness,
Yes.
has instituted a revolutionary program to try and get titles for as much persons as is humanly possible. So we have 2 systems aimed at a part of the solution.
Okay.
You have the systematic, and you have the voluntary or ad hoc. The voluntary or ad hoc system is where you have a piece of land, you do not have a title, it is either untitled or the title is not in your name. And you go ahead and make contact with the National Land Agency through their LAMP division, and they would have opened a file for you and give you a reference number, and then you proceed to do your own survey.
Yes.
And you get all documentation that you have towards the land to establish your tenureship on the land. They call it root of title. You have to establish how you got into possession of the land.
Okay.
And what's the root.
Okay.
And if it is deemed to be legitimate, it is then referred to an adjudication committee, which is a semi-court. And the adjudication committee is established in almost all constituencies or parishes. If not in every constituency, there is one for the parish.
Okay.
That is chaired by an attorney at law with 10 years experience minimum. There's a land surveyor. There's a justice of the peace formed from the area where the land is, and the minister nominates somebody.
Okay.
And then there's a community rep.
Okay, Minister, I don't want you to move too fast now. I want to ask you a question. What you're describing to me sounds like it would be appropriate for if there is, say, dead left land then that families are trying to get their titles for. But what happens?
Perfect.
What happens in the case where, for example, my grandfather dead left some land for my mother and her brothers? but there is war amongst who should get what piece. How is there any? How does the NLA treat with that issue when there is? Okay, so we agree that this person owned the land, and we now as a family have said, okay, it needs to be cut, and it's 4 acres, and each sibling should get 1 acre, but we can't agree that we should get 1 acre. How do you resolve a matter like that? How does the NLA, I don't know, how does the ministry provide support in issues like that? Because I think that's also a major issue that a lot of families have.
Yes, but let me pause on that and just tell you the pure system. I'm going to answer that question.
Okay.
But I want to clear the pure system first, so you get a basic understanding.
Okay.
So the adjudication committee would listen to the appeal, and then they would make a decision based on the document you put, the proof you put.
Yeah.
And before a decision is made, they will put up notices. Well, even before that, they put up notices in the community and on the land to say John Brown is adjudicating on this piece of land. If you have any interest, come to the meeting, which is at X day, at X time, and at X place.
Okay.
So anybody can attend. It's a public hearing. And when the hearing is done, they again put up a notice in the community, at the post office, in the square, and on the land.
Okay.
To say, we have a case, you have another 30 days in which to come forward with any objection or additional information. When that 30 days has expired, if nobody comes forward, and if your case is good, the adjudication committee issues an adjudication certificate, which you then proceed with to the registrar of titles, and they issue a title based on the adjudication certificate. What we have done is to take the traditional and the non-formal information and have formalized it so that a person can use that as a root of a title. Now, you asked a question about the dead left land and war in the family.
Yes.
That is a matter perfect for the adjudication committee.
Okay.
All 4 parties would be invited to come and make their case. Because remember now, you have a lawyer who would make sure that the legal standards are maintained.
Okay.
You have a surveyor who will give guidance as to how land has to be surveyed. Because if you're going to subdivide the 4 acres, every lot must have independent access.
Yes.
So the surveyor is there to provide that guidance. The justice of the peace from the community would be there because he would have knowledge of the history of that piece of land.
Okay.
And there's also a community rep. So each of the 4 siblings
Yes.
would come and make a case.
Okay, I want to pause. I see a question online. Someone is saying, what if one of the siblings, for example, is overseas and can't come? How does that go? Can they send a rep, for example?
Yes, they can send a representative. They can send their attorney, or they can appoint a representative properly documented. They would write to the adjudication committee that I, John Brown, want to appoint this person to carry my matter. And members of the public, there is a public hearing in the community.
Yes.
Because what we're trying to do is to our oral tradition as a society. Over the years, we have ignored the oral traditions. We have now brought it to be taken into consideration in coming to a decision.
Yes.
So everybody will get a fair hearing, and everybody clearly state this was my grandfather and this. But what we have to be mindful of, you have some persons who don't want a settlement. Some persons are happy to have a controversy going forever. Some people don't want a settlement.
Yes.
And that is why the adjudication committee has the powers of a court.
Yes, okay. Understood.
So it issues it once we hear everybody. We hear from the 4 siblings, we hear from the public. The JP has knowledge, member of the community has knowledge. And you allow the community separate from the siblings to get a chance to come and make their speak.
Okay.
And then at the end of the day, somebody has to make a decision. And not everybody is going to be happy, but a decision has to be made.
Right.
And the decision is made. And if you're not happy, then you can proceed to court.
Okay, understood.
To the normal court and challenge that decision.
Okay. All right.
So that's on the ad hoc, and we encourage persons to attend upon the National Land Agency offices in your parish. And sometimes we don't have an office, but we collaborate with other government agencies, and there's an established day. Like, for example, in St. Mary, it is the 4th Thursday of every month.
Okay.
And they come to the Baptist Church in Port Maria, right? The church that they call the church at Bridgefoot.
Yes.
In Port Maria.
Yes.
They come there every month. So right across Jamaica, in every parish, there's a specific day. So you need to just go onto the website, nla.gov.jm.
Yes.
And if you don't find it there, you just send in a query as to your parish and what days and where they are. You do not need to make an appointment.
Oh, okay.
So on the systematic side now.
Yes, because people are asking in the comments, Minister. A lot of people are eager to hear now about squatting and people who live on government or privately owned lands. What the process is for them to regularize, if that is a possibility.
I know, but let's finish with the pure system as it is, so that people get a basic understanding, because many times we half understand something and run in the wrong direction.
Okay.
So with the systematic, the government would declare a part of a community as a systematic area, and all parcels of land within those boundaries are surveyed and paid for by the government. Okay. The government therefore also sends out its attorneys from the National Land Agencies to do the application. So we survey, we do the application, we hear the history, we fill out the form, you sign, and the government then takes on the responsibility of producing a title, a brand new title. Even if there was a title before, the government will take it and produce you a new title with the name of the current occupant once it is established that this current occupant is legally there. Okay. Then a caveat is lodged against the title. Yes. And the cost of producing that title has to be paid back to the government by the title holder over time. However, no interest is applied to what you owe. Okay. So you can't sell the land, you can't transfer the land, because you have to pay back Bakra government what Bakra government would have put up. Yes. So that the government can go into another community and do the same thing. So it's what we have is like a revolving scheme. We do your title, you have to pay. Now we have a lot of persons that want the title but don't want to pay. Yes. So the major difference between the ad hoc voluntary and the systematic is that with the ad hoc, you pay upfront for the survey, the transfer, the legal issues. Yes. At a discount. Okay. And on the systematic, the government pays everything upfront and you pay over time. I see. Now, we can now look at some issues now, where you say that there are persons occupying land. We have a habit in Jamaica of just occupying land without permission. Yes. And then hope that we can take over the land. There is what is known as adverse possession. Yes. Where if you occupy private land for over 12 years. Yes. Undisturbed. Yes. Meaning you would not have been disturbed by the landowner. You have got no notice. The landowner hasn't visited and established their right. You can apply to the NLA for adverse possession of that piece of land, because in Jamaica, the basis of our land laws is that you do not own land. You don't own the land. The Crown owns the land. Okay. And the Crown gives you the rights to occupy the land. Okay. And for that right, you must pay your property tax. Okay. And if after 12 years, you have not occupied, you have not possessed, nor pay your taxes, the government reserves the right after investigation to give somebody the permission to occupy that piece of land. Okay. Because it was made on the basis that land must be brought into productive use. You must just have land put on. So people have been applying, but there has been an abuse of the adverse possession of the land. So you make an application, you show that you would have paid the taxes. You prove that you would have occupied the property.
For the 12 years.
Yes, and then
Okay.
undisturbed.
Undisturbed.
Not just 12 years.
Yes.
Undisturbed.
12 undisturbed years.
If the landowner came to you and says, you illegally occupied my land, you have been disturbed.
Right.
If he sends you a notice, you would have been undisturbed. If he sends his agent to talk to you, you would have been disturbed. So a lot of persons getting it wrong.
Yes.
It has to be 12 years undisturbed.
Yes.
And you have to prove that to the referees at the NLA. And they require certain documents. And they send even investigators to check it out.
Okay. I see a question I'm going to ask. I know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it. It says, does this apply if the landlord hasn't given any notice, but they are paying property taxes? I suppose the answer, Minister, would be no. If property taxes is being paid, oh no, that's a good question, actually. If the property taxes is being paid by the landlord, but they haven't served any notice to the people on the land.
The landlord don't have to serve you any notice.
Okay. Okay,
and
okay.
He is paying as a land occupier or the owner, for want of a better term.
Yes.
He is doing what the law requires him to do.
Okay.
It is to pay his property taxes, and he is paying it. So you are there with his permission.
Okay, so I'm asking the question again for clarity. So if I live on the land for 12 years, I haven't heard from the landlord, but the landlord has been paying the property taxes. He can show up on day 12 year and 1 day and say, come off of my place.
He should have shown up 3 months after they stop paying him rent and run you off.
Okay. All right.
The landlord owns the land.
Right.
The landlord is doing what the landlord has a contract with government.
Yes.
This 1 acre of land, in exchange to having the rights to the land, I must pay my property taxes every year.
Yes.
So the landlord is doing that.
Okay.
You are a tenant.
Yes.
You have no rights to the land. You're a tenant. You went on the land with the permission of the landlord.
Okay.
To pay him rent every month in exchange to allow you to stay.
Okay, understood.
So you do not qualify for adverse possession.
Yes. Okay, understood. Understood. We're learning a lot this morning, Minister. Yeah.
So in going further now, you make the application if it is privately owned land.
Yes.
After 12 years.
Yes.
But you have to prove that you are undisturbed.
Okay.
That tenant, because you have an agreement with the landlord.
Yes.
To pay monthly. You are disturbed every month. Even if you don't pay the rent.
Okay.
That was the original agreement.
And if you don't hear from them, then you're disturbed by your conscience every month.
No, you are disturbed legally because you have an agreement, whether written or unwritten.
Yes.
With the landlord to pay him. That is the arrangement you and him have.
Okay. I think the confusion, Minister, is the discussion about undisturbed. About undisturbed. Because what if it is, we're using the word landlord, but what if it is land and the landowner is paying property taxes, right?
You are disturbed. You
okay.
are legally disturbed.
Okay.
Because the landlord, by paying property taxes, the landlord is saying to the government,
yes,
we had an arrangement.
Yes.
I have the rights to this land.
Okay.
And I am to pay you your property taxes.
Okay,
and
understood.
I am paying it.
Yes.
So the government recognizes the landlord. So if you try to muscle in, the government will say, the landlord has paid his property taxes every year. So what is your claim?
Right, understood.
You have no claim. You are disturbed.
Yes. So the adverse possession conversation only comes into being if you've lived on the property land for 12 plus years and no taxes are being paid and you have been living there undisturbed. So it's a combination of those things.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
You have to show possession, not even the taxes. Possession.
Yes, okay.
Undisturbed possession. But a lot of people only hear, you must live there for 12 years. They don't hear the part about undisturbed.
Yes, agreed. All right. Continue, Minister. We're coming up on a break shortly, but I'm gonna have to bring you back after the break because my comment section is lighting up. People are very eager to hear more about this discussion. But I'm gonna let you go in, and then we'll cut to a break shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
So adverse possession is one way. there is a gift where the landowner would gift the land to you, like a family member, whether verbally or in writing, to say, I have given Gabby this piece of land from the nutmeg tree to the grapefruit tree, go down to the gully, along the gully and come back to the grapefruit tree. And if you're going to many rural communities, that is we call meats and bones. People will tell you, no, a Gabby piece that.
Yes.
Granny did say she forget it, and everybody knows.
Yes.
So that is why we have the adjudication committees have been introduced. So
Okay.
based on that local knowledge,
Yes.
you can go to the adjudication committee and they will take that oral history from members of the community to declare this Gabby's piece, and the adjudication committee I recommends to the minister,
Yes.
who can give you a waiver to subdivide. They call it a Section 5 waiver.
Okay.
So when you have a large parcel of land and your grandfather would have given you your piece and give your mother a piece and think you have to subdivide it, get permission from the parish council.
Yes.
In these cases, the minister with responsibility for land, which happens to be the prime minister,
Okay.
can grant you a waiver so it is done all the while under the systematic program where the surveyors would come in. That issue you spoke about earlier with the first and the quarrel, the survey would do a subdivision and show that the first piece go to the first son, the second piece to the second son, and he would have put in a roadway access. Every parcel must have independent access, and then they can apply to the parish council and go through the land rigmarole, or the minister grants you a waiver and you get a subdivision.
Okay.
And then you apply for your title based on the Section 5 waiver.
Okay. Okay.
And then you can buy the land. That is normally the easiest way. The land is advertised, or you make the person an offer, you and them agree, you sign a sales agreement, it is registered, and you apply for your title.
Okay.
Or it can be willed to you. The person who owns the land makes a will.
Yes.
It is probated, and you seek to have it transferred into your name.
I
But
see.
in Jamaica, we have a culture of being very informal with land. Land is not rice and flour, and that is why we do a disservice to our children and grandchildren
Yes.
when we don't do it the proper way.
Yes, yes, agreed.
And then a lot of land has the benefits, the economic benefits in the land that our family and people can't benefit from because they don't have the proper documentation to the land. You know how
Yes.
many farmers have been farming land that them grandfather give them, but they never went ahead
Yes.
and transferred it into their name. They kept it informal, so they
Yes.
can't go to the bank
Okay.
to borrow,
Yes.
or to send the children to school, or to fix them house.
Yes. Minister,
So
we're
we have a lot of rich poor people in Jamaica.
Yes, agreed. We're coming up on the break now. We're going to have to bring you back over the break, after the break. So I hope that I'm not taking up too much of your time. There are so many questions that are coming to me live on social media now, and people have more things, and I want to hear more. This has been a great discussion, very informative. So we will bring Minister back after the break. We go to the break now.